Hello and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. The Local Leaders Podcast provides a platform for successful business owners to share their stories, their experiences, their advice, and their ideas in order to help our listeners achieve more success in their business and in their lives. Get ready, another great show is coming up. Hey, good morning to all our listeners of Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson, and welcome you back after Christmas to all our listeners. And I want to welcome our guest today, Andrew Caplinger of Caplinger's Fresh Catch out of Indianapolis, Indiana. How are you, sir, today?
Doing great. Thanks, Jeff.
Well, we are so blessed to have you on today, and I appreciate you coming on after the Christmas vacation and to try to kind of share the story of Caplinger's and what you guys are all about, and hopefully reach some of our audience and listeners out there who haven't had the chance to enjoy a meal with you guys and get them into one of your locations. There's 5 locations of Caplinger's. So without further ado, Andrew, can you just share a little bit about the business and kind of how you guys got it going and what it's all about?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll be as short with it, but as long with it as possible, all at the same time, because this has pretty much spanned most all of my life. In June of 1993, my dad had opened up a retail fish market. He was a minority partner with a fellow that owned a wholesale fish company that my dad had worked for a number of years. And I was 13, 14 years old at the time, and so that's when I really got into it. And prior to that, my dad, he's been in the fish business before I was ever even born. He started with Standard Grocery, which is no longer around, I don't think, at least not here in Indiana. And then we had a couple local grocery chains out here, and he started all of their seafood programs and seafood departments and all their stores. So I guess it was a little bit in my DNA to be in this business. But like I said, I started probably about 13, 14 years old. I worked full time when there were holidays off for school, all of that stuff, so I've been working in it for a long time. And we went through till about 2005, I believe it was. My dad was attempting to buy out the majority owner because there were some things that they weren't really on the same page with. And real excited. My dad wasn't real excited about the way that things were heading. And through that whole process, he found out that the majority guy had been embezzling money for pretty much since the beginning, because it was a very, very successful business. So long story short there, needless to say, relationships went way downhill. My dad ended up leaving the business. I left very, very shortly after that and went and worked for a local purveyor, a wholesaler here in Indy, and got a lot of great experience as a buyer, and ended up moving out to the East Coast, to Northern Virginia, DC area, and to Asheville, North Carolina. Worked for a big grocery chain out there, Harris Teeter. They were a great chain out there. So I got to work with a lot of people that helped me get the knowledge, where we're able to do what we're doing. But to start off for Caplinger's Fresh Catch, basically it was almost 9 years ago to the date. It was the 31st of December, my wife's birthday. We were sitting in Grove Park Inn in North Carolina, and she said, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and put your business plan together? Let's move home and do that fish market." Because she knew that that's something that I've always wanted to do. So went through all that process, this painstaking process. I don't know, I can't even remember how many banks told me, no, we're not going to give you a loan. This is business plan we've ever seen, but no, we're not going to give you any money. But finally, one of the banks around here, Huntington Bank, they do great for small business. They said yes, and between the money that we had, the money that we got, and some other friends that believed in us, we were able to get that ball rolling. And actually, December 26th of 2013 was our very first day in business at our first store. So
Oh, wow.
we just celebrated our 8-year anniversary at our Shadeland store, and it was crazy. We opened up. We're going to be a fish market and also cook stuff. It turned out that we're almost more of a restaurant that just happens to also have a fish market too now, at least in a lot of our stores. But by that 5th day of being open, we had a line out the door. That's thanks to a lot of history, with the Indianapolis community. A lot of them found out that we were coming back and were excited and just supported us, from day one. We've just had so much loyalty when it comes to our customers, and also our staff too. I've got guys that worked with us when it was my dad out at 56 and Emerson, back in 1993, when that all started. And I've got people that are working with us that were there also, and we couldn't do it without them. We've been very blessed when it comes to having good people around us to help make all this happen, because Lord knows you can't do it with just one person or even two people. Just even if you know what you're doing, you can't get it done unless you've got a lot of great people around you. And that was thankfully something the Lord's blessed us with, a lot of good people. But like I said, 8 years there. We've got 5 stores now. 3 out of 5 of them have fish markets, as well as the kitchen. We run a full menu. It's all very, very casual. We don't have a lot of stuff that you're not going to sit down to a white tablecloth on a table or anything. You're going to place an order at a register, go sit down. We're going to bring you your food. The other cool part at the locations that we have our fish markets at, you can pick something out of the case. So if, let's say, I don't have red snapper on my menu, but if you wanted some, we'll cut you a piece of red snapper that's right there in the case, cook it up for you however you want it cooked. So we've got lots and lots of different options for people to choose from. And it's, like I said, we're on store 5. We've we also had a food truck. We got rid of that, that was a blessing to get rid of, because there were so many issues there. We've had one store that we actually closed. I shouldn't necessarily say closed, because we ended up opening a new one and it sort of moved. But all in all, it was one of those things that you don't ever want to have to close a store. But I felt like there were a lot of lessons learned the hard way on that one. But it was definitely the best move for the business to be able to move on from where that store was, and to go to bigger and better things, hopefully. And thankfully they were. So that's in a nutshell. We're doing something that a lot of people don't think is possible by selling truly fresh fish in good old landlocked Indiana. But I've been to a lot of different fish markets all over. I put what we do up against anybody out there. So it's crazy to say that, again, being in Indiana, but when you're willing to pay for it, you can get good stuff.
Yeah, and there has the logistics part of being able to bring in fresh seafood like that, has that been one of the tougher challenges, or did your experience help you kind of knock that out of the park right out of the gate?
Well, definitely, having an idea as to the type of fish that are going to sell well, that certainly helps. But our vendors that we have, we're not too far away from Chicago, so we get deliveries every single day from our fresh fish vendors. So it's one of those deals that we can order tight. So we're selling through stuff. We're not having to worry about whether or not we've ordered too much product in that we're going to have to throw away, because we don't sell it on time. We just order tight. And that's not to say that we don't ever have waste. Obviously, there's going to be something. But overall, we're able to keep our orders really tight and work through the product. So, and that's all due to having a lot of great vendors and being able to get those orders in every single day.
Yeah, and now do you run I'm just curious, and I'm kind of going off the rails a little bit, but do you run like an inventory management system of some sort, or is it more of a manual kind of thing? Do you have automation built in there?
We don't. That's
And
something that,
most people don't. So I was just curious
yeah,
if maybe you guys have kind of stepped out on the edge there.
I know my accountants would certainly like to see that. We've grown a lot, and honestly, there's a lot of things that we didn't do right along the way. Not because we didn't want to do it right, but because we grew quick and we didn't have the infrastructure underneath of us to necessarily even know that we were doing things wrong.
Right.
Until we go and actually talk to the right people and they say, oh no, you need to do this. And so now we've hired a controller. Jim's been with us for not quite a year, I don't think. And he's sort of digging us out of the hole, trying to make everything right on the back end of things, making sure that that we're doing all the stuff financially that that we need to be doing to make sure that it's all right. But that's another one learned the hard way, but we've learned it and are growing from it, hopefully getting to where we need to be. So
well, that's the kind of the whole point of this podcast. Well, there's really two. We want to get your name out there and introduce you to other people who haven't had the opportunity to know of Caplingers, but secondly, and primarily, we want to help educate other restaurant owners just like you who maybe save them from an expensive lesson or two
yes.
along the way. And the best lessons are those tend to cost you a lot. And if we can help by sharing with others and maybe cut down on one or two of those, it could save a business. And ultimately, we just want to help people be more successful. So I appreciate you being willing to say that there were issues and challenges and things you could have done better, because whether we say it or not, every business owner knows it to be true.
That's for sure.
We screw up more often than anybody else, but you just got to keep rolling with it and try not to do the same thing again.
Yep. Learning, you hopefully don't repeat it, and sometimes you do, but hopefully, especially if you do have to learn the hard way, there's not more than 2 times that you have to learn it.
Yeah, exactly. And I can think of several on myself. So, outside of, you guys really have grown fast. You've gotten to 5 locations. You're pretty much all in the Indianapolis area. I know it's not all Indianapolis, but you're clustered there.
Yep.
How much more work do you have to do internally to kind of get all that infrastructure in place? Are there other things you're looking to work on or correct or build upon before you think about expanding further?
I think yes, there are a lot of different things, and I think some of the biggest things that we're working on in order to be able to make sure that we've got a good foundation are having the financial structure underneath of us to be able to know where we're at with everything. We've pretty much anything that we've done, we've paid for, with the exception we bought our very first building last year. Actually, it was just over a year ago. Right in the middle of COVID, we ended up buying our first building, And there's just a lot of things financially that you need to know. You really need to know if you can do it. Just because your bank account has so many dollars in it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to do it long term. So I think having that structure set, and again having our controller who's catching all this stuff up, and they're going to be able to keep us up to date. And we have our accountants who've worked with us for years. They're the ones that they've done an amazing job for what little we've given them, to work with. But that financial infrastructure, being able to have your processes, your SOPs, having all of that stuff written. I think consistency in our business is huge. Whenever you're cooking stuff for people or with anything, consistency is a huge thing. And I think actually having written standards, SOPs, stuff like that, those are very beneficial to a business. If you want to be able to grow your business, or if you wanted to franchise, you need to be able to give someone a roadmap. Yeah, they might not have the knowledge that you have, but you need to put that knowledge on paper so someone can have a really good map, like I said, to get to where they want to go.
Well, it's that's a big area, and again, I kind of got off the rails, but it's just an area that I'm interested in, and I think a lot of our listeners are, because there's so many of us out there who are wanting to grow and or wishing to grow, or they've got a goal for growth, and the biggest, and I think the hardest part is fully preparing to grow. And you're talking about all those details and all that minutia that you have to kind of go through to be in a position to do it successfully. So it's, that's I guess probably the hardest part of the journey. And then you're tackling new things like, purchasing a building, you hadn't done that before. I'm sure there were lessons learned there as well, because that real estate part is a whole nother aspect.
Yep.
Now, was that your fifth location for the building purchase, or
fourth?
That was the fourth. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we just opened another one up a few months ago. It's in it's a new concept. It's downtown Indy, but it's called the AMP at 16 Tech, and it's sort of like a big food hall, food court type place, mainly built with local businesses, small incubator type businesses. We were a little bit bigger than the average restaurant or business going in there, but thankfully they let us in, and it's been a great little location for us. And I just got back. I was at my mom and stepdad's down in southern Indiana. We've got a project that we're getting ready to work on, and it's going to be a second property that we're purchasing. That's actually, we're going to hopefully be able to make it into a catfish farm.
Oh man!
I know I'm throwing this out there. I probably didn't give you much to talk through on this one, but I saw these for sale signs go up on this property that was about a half mile up the road from my mom and stepdad's, and had no idea, because it's all wooded and everything. I had no idea that this place used to be a fish farm, a fishery. I saw the aerial and I was like, oh my gosh, and the brain started working and going through stuff, and it's like, man, our catfish costs have gone from over $5 a pound up to sometimes over $8 a pound right now. And so the cost has skyrocketed, and I started looking up, and I'm an expert now because I've watched a lot of Google and YouTube videos on catfish farming, but I was like, I think we can do this. That should be a really easy thing, and should be able to control our costs a lot more so. I know there's going to be hiccups because we're going to have to learn the hard way again. But I'm bringing a lot of people on board. I'm actually meeting with Purdue's head of aquaculture, which is one of the biggest aquaculture schools in the Midwest, if not the country. So I'm super excited about that. But I was just down there, and we're getting ready to close on that property too. But that's going to be something really huge. It's going to probably be a 2 or 3 year project because there's a lot that needs to be done to rehab this place. But
Yeah.
in terms of the real estate aspect of things, we are getting ready to add a second property to the Caplinger's fresh catch portfolio. So it's going to be a fun year for that.
Wow, that you got a lot going on over there. You and Courtney, your wife, which I didn't mention before, and Nick, your dad, who's also part of the business.
Yep.
Wow, that's all I can say. It sounds like 2022 is going to be super busy.
I apologize. I didn't hear that.
Oh, that's okay. I was just saying. It sounds like I was mentioning Courtney, your wife, and Nick, your dad, who are part of the business, and I said, looks like all three of you guys are going to be super busy in 2022.
It's going to be an interesting year, that's for sure. Hopefully, a good interesting.
Yeah. Well, as you said, lessons, and you talk about expanding. You're talking about a vertical integration kind of thing here by being able to supply
Yep.
some of your own food sources, and who knows if that goes well, maybe you can supply others as well, and expand from catfish to other types of fish that maybe you can bring in there. So I mean, it really sounds cool. I've not talked to anyone who's been in that business, so that's really unique and just different. But it's thinking out of the box, which is what you have to do these days, right?
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. So we're going to give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, it addresses one of the bigger challenges that most operators and owners are facing today, which is food costs and food shortages. As you said, your catfish pricing has already gone through the roof. So
Yep.
I'm sure, like others, you've seen a dramatic rise in pricing since COVID, and have food shortages also been an issue? Has that been a
Oh
problem
man,
as well?
anything that you've heard of that's been an issue, it's been an issue, and then some. Whether it's styrofoam containers for our sides, our price went up, average $500 a week just for this one container for our sides. And then, of course, it wasn't even available. So we've had to switch back to a different container. The ingredients, oil costs, our frying oil is almost doubled in price. We've got major cuts on crab. King crab's been a huge issue. That's been something that they've cut fishing by, I think, 80+%. And I'm not certain if that has to do with labor issues, and labor's a whole other thing. Labor's gone sky high. But it has been an issue when it comes to product for us to get. We've had to look at different avenues. I've got a friend that we're able to buy direct from. I never did business with them for these type of products, but we've had to jump through all kinds of hoops to even be able to have product to sell. We're outside of the fact that it's doubling in price, or going up maybe even just 25%. It's been the craziest year I've ever seen when it comes to overall cost and just the inability to get products easily. And it's not just fish products, like I said, oil's gone up. French fries, I've had to bounce back and forth. I've always had a certain fry that we've sold, and it's one of the biggest, fry producers in the country, and they couldn't make enough, so we had to switch fries, and we're back, to something that we want. But I mean, it's like every week there's a hurdle that we have to go and try and figure out how to jump over, and it's not just a simple jump. So it's been a real challenge this year.
No, and you're speaking of supply, and you got 5 stores to supply, so Are you doing any central warehousing or anything like that, or is each store kind of doing its own?
Most of our stores are insanely compact. We don't have enough room to do what we do out of them. We've got one walk-in freezer that is, it'd still be considered tiny by most people's uh thoughts, but we have gone out, had to stockpile soft shell crabs, king crab, like I said, just to even have it to sell, which is not a cheap thing to do.
Yeah.
Lobster meat, which our lobster roll was ranked top 20 in the country, and so we go through a lot of that. Lobster meat's been very difficult, so we've had to stockpile that again. Crazy high prices on that stuff. Frog legs. I mean, I could go down the board on things that we've had to stockpile, just to be able to have them, and it's like gambling every once in a while. If you hear something's going to be out and you're not going to be able to get it for a month, and you buy in at a certain price, and well, it didn't take a whole month and it only took 2 weeks, and now it's down $2 a pound or
Yeah.
up $2 a pound, whatever it might be. It's been crazy, but we've definitely had to buy in on some product.
Now, I've heard some restaurants, and I've actually been to some, where you see a lot more market price listings
Oh
on
yeah.
menus. Have you guys kind of adopted that methodology?
Yeah. Yep. I absolutely did. I've
Yeah.
never had market price on my menu before, because there would be, enough stability to things that that you'd be able to hold a price until you get to having to order those next 10,000 menus or whatever,
Right.
and whatever it might be. And we actually, the last go round, it was the first time I started putting market price on things. So that's definitely something that's been helpful, so we don't lose.
Right, right, absolutely. And then that brings into, I mean, everything has an impact. You do one thing different and it impacts several other things. And what I'm thinking about immediately is, having those paper menus, and then now a lot of people have gone to the digital menus, which you can, update and kind of on the fly with the pricing. Has that been a challenge for you guys, or have you been able to find technology to kind of manage that?
um I should do better with that. The technology aspect with menus, that's sort of a no-brainer. And we've talked about, just having a URL that people can scan with their phone like you do
Yeah.
everywhere else. I haven't done that yet, so this might be a little prodding to get that done. We've still been doing it old school style with just ordering, our paper menus.
Yeah.
In fact, I was getting ready to put another order in today, but that's a great way to do it. Now, some of our menu boards in the stores are, more technology based, so we're able to change stuff. They're basically monitors and stuff like that, so we are able to change those things a little bit quicker than the actual paper menu. But all other avenues, we are able to change quickly. And it's always nice. You always have the little tiny words at the bottom that prices are subject to change without having a change on the menu.
Right.
That really, people don't like that. So we try not to ever do that. But we went through just up until I finally had to raise our prices, which I just finally did just a few months ago. We were losing, like, actual loss on a couple different products because of how high the prices had got and how poorly I did at reacting with it. But now we're fixed.
And Jim was helpful on that, I bet.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he started talking about the money, and now we got Jim to come in and raise his voice and say, "Hey, what's up with this? Why are we selling stuff at a loss?"
Yeah, and a lot of my store managers are like, "Hey, you see this? This went up to this price, so now we've got this much in it, and that's not going to work."
Yeah.
So
Well,
everybody, it's been a good team effort.
well, it definitely helps when you got other people who have kind of an ownership in the business, and try to help bring or try to help keep you straight, and let you know what's going on, and make sure that you guys are reacting. And again, I mean, you're not different. There's still hundreds of thousands of restaurants out there with paper menus, and that haven't transitioned kind of on the technology to all of the things that are available. And the technology has changed so fast this year. We're in the or my business is in the restaurant technology space, and I can't hardly keep up with it. There's just so many new things with mobile ordering and online ordering, and digital menus, and pay at the table on your cell phone with QR codes. I mean, every time I turn around, there's something new I got to try to learn and figure out, and find its place, for owners such as yourself. So don't feel bad. You're not in as bad a shape as you think.
Good.
Yeah, but again, it's out there, and it's it's an evolving kind of space with the restaurant technology, especially on the menus and payment side. And I encourage all of our listeners who are in the business to take advantage of as much of that as possible. The challenge is finding time to focus on it, because you're too busy trying to find catfish and
Exactly
lobster
right.
and everything, and styrofoam packaging or whatever.
Yep.
It's just crazy time. So
Stuff you'd never imagine that you'd have to worry about. And that's 2021, and doesn't look like 2022 is going to be a whole heck of a lot better. So
no, sir, it really doesn't. And staffing all through the supply chain, and all the way down to the restaurant level has certainly been an issue. Well, staffing and labor in all businesses has been an issue, obviously, and doesn't look like that's going to be fixed anytime soon. And I'm sure we can't solve it here, but are you guys doing, or have you done anything dramatic, or to try to help be able to recruit and retain people since the pandemic, or has that been a big struggle as well?
it's I talked about how blessed we are with our customers and our staff, and thankfully, we've always had a core that has been with us, that it doesn't matter what we have going on, they're going to be there, and they're going to keep things moving. But we definitely have gone through, you always have a handful of spots at each store that there's a little bit of turnover with. We've seen that level out a little bit lately. Some of the things that we've done, probably the biggest thing that has helped us was to offer incentives to our current employees to bring people in to work with us. They're typically, nobody wants to work with somebody that doesn't know how to work. So if you know them, you're typically not going to bring them in if they're no good. And so we've been able to gain some really good employees through doing incentives. Hey, if you bring somebody on and they're with us for a month, here's $250. Make it for 6 months, here's another $500. So little incentive programs like that within. I've gone out and I paid a lot of money to run ZipRecruiter or whatever, different kinds of hiring software platforms, stuff like that. And those do bring people in, but I've found that the longevity of our staff, it's been a whole heck of a lot better when it's been someone that recommended someone to come into us. And so that's probably the main thing that I'd say that we've done. We've always paid well. We work off of hourly plus tips, because we don't do a whole heck of a lot, honestly, that would require tips from anybody. But I think with the with the way that we treat our customers and the level that we go to, they want to leave tips. So that's been a big help to be able to have tips added on to the hourly wage that, we already have a very good competitive hourly wage. And then you've got that tip money coming in that, is not technically, that's not out of our pocket. It's out of our customers' pockets because they appreciate the service that's being provided. So that's always been a big helpful boost, I think, with the way that we're able to pay.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And that, I think the tipping, I'm interested to see what the Restaurant Association comes out with at some point, to kind of talk about that and actually see numbers. But I know for me, I picked up 3 super large pizzas yesterday for a birthday party for one of the grandkids. And, I walked in, I got it, I walked out, but I left a tip. And, in the past, I wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have tipped for, a to-go order. But today, I think generally people are offering that because they understand the challenges that owners are facing and employees are facing and all that. So thank goodness for that. And if we can only get them to be more patient now.
Yeah, good luck.
And we would, we'd be really rocking and rolling. But,
yeah. With our business, there are Friday nights, a lot of people still fish on Fridays is a big thing. We'll run hour plus waits, and I'll tell people, if I get the opportunity, might not want to come on a Friday if you don't have really good level of patience. So there's patience is definitely something that I think is going by the wayside through this whole pandemic and all of that stuff. It doesn't seem like people they don't have as much patience as what they used to. So
yeah. Hey, have you guys thought about, or I guess had the bandwidth, or and you may not with things the way they are, any of that ghost kitchen concept thought process going on with you all?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I live in my own world. I live in my Caplinger's fresh catch world for the most part. I really didn't have a great understanding about ghost kitchens until just recently. And I got an email this morning from, I guess Dwayne Wade has his own burger joint or something, his own burger, something. I didn't read through it real clearly, but they're offering to come in and we make the burger, all these different things, do that whole ghost kitchen thing. And it's not been something that I'm pretty ignorant about it, honestly. So it's not something I've given a whole lot of thought, because I figure we've got enough going on right now that I don't need to throw another iron in the fire. But it's very interesting, what little I do understand about it. It's very interesting. And I've had one company that has expressed interest in doing our food and their ghost kitchen, and that's something that I think is probably something that I'm going to look into this upcoming year and see what the viability and how that might fit into a plan for us that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just another avenue, another revenue stream potentially, and you're right, you can take it the other way as well. And I guess maybe licensing, Caplinger brand or the Caplinger items or food is the right term for that. I'm not really sure either, but I know a lot of folks are doing it and getting into it, and there are some benefits if you have the capacity, and you have some flexibility with your kitchen. That's first and foremost, and it's all about the digital online order game. When it comes to that, and technology is a big part of that piece too. So lots of things to think about. Gosh, that's all we need to do is add 2 or 3 more to your to your fishery and everything else that you guys have going on. But hey, I just looked down and realized that the clock was moving forward quickly, and so I guess I need to kind of bring us toward a close. Was there anything you wanted to share or talk about that I haven't raised yet? first off, and then any other words of advice you might give to kind of a startup restaurateur who's just diving into the business?
Something I've always told people, I said, you've got to have a niche. There's a lot of different things out there. There's a lot of people that have great burgers. There's a lot of people that do fish, and there's a lot of things that happen within your industry that people do. You need to be different. If you want to be successful, you need to be different. That difference might come in, the ingredients that you use should always come in the quality that you use. But I think being different and having that niche is what helps, especially in the food industry. Because we all know that there's not a lot of restaurants. A lot of restaurants fail. And I think that it's because, I can go somewhere else and get it just as good, maybe a little less money, or, whatever it may be. So I think having that thing that's different about you and about your business is where you can really help solidify whether or not you're going to be successful or not. There's a lot of luck in it, always, and, a lot of answered prayers. But overall, I think having that special thing that you can go to and say, hey, this is what we do different than everybody else. I think that's a big benefit.
And talking to so many restaurant owners during this podcast, which we've been doing now only since this past June. It's only about 6 months, 7 months in, but we talked to a lot of people. And I think that's one of my biggest lessons learned is the whole concept thing, the concept, the niche, you got to have some level of differentiation, whether it be in food or in service level or what have you, to stand out in, a crowded marketplace and to get people excited and keep them coming back.
Yep.
So, I appreciate you sharing that advice as well. I did want to ask you one other thing, which I forgot, and I don't even know what part of the conversation I could have tossed it in, but I was curious about your takeout versus on-premise kind of business.
Yeah.
Were you guys able to adapt pretty easily to the kind of the new takeout thing since COVID?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we were positioned because we do so much takeout. Most of our stores have very limited seating. I might be able to seat 40 people and 2 out of 3 of our stores with markets in it. The other one, we can get 70, 80 people, but we were already adapted into that carry out business. So, when COVID was at its, we had the most restrictions going, all of that, we were able to continue on. We actually set records in sales last year. So it was an easy adaptation for us, thankfully. And that's why we were able to make it through like we did.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I was thinking you've got kind of that quick serve. Well, you got that. Yeah, I guess more of a quick serve kind of concept anyway. So, those in that space were a lot, found it easier to adapt to that curbside pickup delivery kind of model. And, I've talked to a few like fine dining establishments that were all about the ambiance and the experience of being there, and they really suffered.
Rough.
There was their food wasn't adaptable to take out. They had to make some dramatic changes to be able to survive. So, congratulations to you and to Courtney and to Nick and to the whole team of awesome employees that you guys have for, being able to take such a hard time, in heck, the world, and to be able to, find a way to succeed and make it. So congratulations to you and everyone involved.
I appreciate that.
And I guess I'll wrap up this episode here for our listeners. Again, it's Caplinger's. God, just went blank. Fresh Catch. I was about to say seafood market, but it's Caplinger's Fresh Catch, and they are 5 locations in and around Indianapolis. So if you're in that area, be sure that if you haven't been there, shame on you, number one, and secondly, get an order in, get over there to visit, buy some fresh seafood or have a meal with Andrew and his team, and continue to support them in the community as you have. And again, for me and from all of our listeners, Andrew, we appreciate you sharing all your knowledge and experience and lessons learned, in growing your business with our audience today. So again, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
You are very welcome. And again, for our listeners, I'm Jeff Johnson, your host of the Local Leaders Podcast, and we're going to sign off with this one, and we'll see you on our very next episode.